With number 8 returning in Stranger Things Season 5, it was probably the second biggest reveal that the show has given us. The largest had to be Will and the revelation that he had powers. However, what Callie's return is leaning towards is a couple of different theories and ways that Vecna could be defeated, but also that she could actually end up working against the likes of Eleven. Personally, I think Eleven saving her from the hold that the military had on her is going to connect her importance to the plot and cement her to being on Eleven's side. So with that, I wanted to dive into the talking points of number 8 and answer what her importance is actually going to be when the show returns. So let's get into it. Here is the importance of number 8 in Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. How Callie's powers could help defeat Vecna. One thing that I think is particularly interesting about Callie and her return is the way that her powers are so different to the likes of Eleven and Will. With Will and Eleven, it's strictly telekinesis, which is their strongest power play. Eleven whenever she wants to and when she's feeling strong enough, and Will when he's picked up by the signal of the hive mind and is able to tap into it whilst controlling those through his special connection. When it comes to Callie's powers, hers are slightly different because whilst she doesn't have the telekinesis ability, she does have the ability to be able to cast illusions to the very people that she's targeting, almost bringing their worst nightmares in front of them. We saw this most in Season 2 when she went and confronted the scientists and doctors that were experimenting on her in the lab under Dr. Brenner's experiment. Now, I feel like this could be something that's important to the defeating of Vecna for a reason that connects all the way back to Henry Krill's past. When Henry Krill was younger, after he went to Dimension X and adopted the darkness that was given to him by the Mind Flayer, after killing his mother and sister, the darkness was slowly consuming him, and it was almost as if the power was going to Henry's head. With this increased power that he was trying to gain, he then tried to take a hold of the Mind Flayer and put it under his command, rather than it be with the roles reversed with Henry being a foot soldier for the Flayer. Whenever Henry would try and do that to the Mind Flayer to stop Henry from trying his luck again in believing that he'd be able to tame the Flayer and essentially make it his, the Mind Flayer would then show visions to Henry, memories in which it would cause his power to grow weaker due to the emotional response that it would give him. These types of memories would be the atrocities that he'd caused since adopting the darkness, and what it would do is that it would show that the real Henry Krill, the more pure version of him, is still inside of the one that became power-obsessed, like what we saw when Henry Krill went to the cave. With number 8 holding the ability of being able to cast illusions and it being made apparent that it's clearly a weakness of Henry's in the past when it came to him looking to gain control and more power, I wonder if this is going to be something that she's going to be able to use on Vecna in the present day, and it'll cause that very weakness to come to the forefront again. Vecna's weakness seems to be one that plagues him from inside of his mind more than in the physical sense, and with Eleven and Will only really being able to get him in the physical world. This is where I think number 8 could become a crucial part of taking him down and also exposing Vecna for not being the main villain of the show, but instead the main villain being the Mind Flayer. I could almost see it playing out with number 8 being on the battlefield, and if she's learned about Henry Krill's past, which she'd be able to do quite easily due to everybody else knowing about it, and also the Krill house being an abandoned relic in the heart of Hawkins, which she could simply explore. When around Vecna, she could bring his dead mother, sister and father from inside of his mind right out in front of him and see the horrors of what he did to them all of those years ago. The pain that he put them through and the fact that he killed them due to this darkness that took him over. She'd almost be weakening him like the Mind Flayer did to him to keep him in check. With the way that Henry Krill wasn't able to walk inside of the cave when Max was there because it would have taken him back to when he first met the Mind Flayer. It felt like a clear indicator that the pure Henry Krill before he was exposed to the darkness could still be lying within him. Even in the smallest of senses, and those bad memories that he experienced when he killed his family could be what brings that tiny fragment back to the forefront and freezes him and causes a bad reaction, ultimately allowing Eleven and Will to strike. I think those dark memories and Callie casting the illusions will be key in eliminating Vecna because it would almost allow us to see the real Henry Krill for the first time. He'd almost be like this trapped prisoner inside of his own body due to the hold that the Mind Flayer had on him. It would kind of be like the whole Dean Cypher and Godolkin twist that we saw in Gen V Season 2. I wouldn't mind if that was the case in Stranger Things because it would add an interesting dynamic to the show and also Vecna. Personally, I think this is how Callie is going to be able to help Eleven and the group in defeating Vecna, by using her powers to unlock a weakness in him that they didn't even properly realize was originally there. So I hope that's the case. How did number 8 end up with the military? One of the biggest questions that's out there at the moment is how Callie came to be under the restraint of the military. This is something that will most likely be answered in the next volume of the season, but I feel like there are two different answers to this. The first is that we know that Callie was out there with her group of misfits carrying out robberies and being prepared to quite literally murder people for what they did in their past in order to seek their own personal justice. I wonder if her crimes just eventually caught up with her and it was through her fighting back that eventually put her on the military's radar, which led them to find a way to capture her. Or maybe Dr. K was out there looking for her. It looked like there were bags that were attached to her, so it makes me question if they're trying to draw the blood from her in order to make more people like her so that they could weaponize her. Or could they simply just be giving her a blood transfusion of some kind because maybe she was injured in some way when they carried out their tests and studies? The fact that she has her head shaved and had been put in similar clothing to what 11 and the other test subjects had in the past when Dr. Brenner was working on them, it makes me think that Dr. K could be connected to Dr. Brenner in some way, or at least have worked on the project with him several years ago. So I think Callie could have ended up inside of the lab inside of the Upside Down with her kryptonite numbing her powers because either her past caught up with her, or Dr. K was on the hunt for her because of her previous association with Dr. Brenner, and then maybe she wanted to carry on with his mission. The whole idea of being able to weaponize Callie is something that I wouldn't put past the military in this show. Maybe they wanted her so that if it came to it, she'd be able to cast her illusion over the lab so that maybe Vecna didn't know that they were there. This does also make me wonder if the military have been able to corrupt number 8 in some way due to the stress and trauma that she's been under, but personally, I don't think that's the case. I think it'd make the story far more interesting if she were on the side of 11. When it comes to why Callie was brought back to the show, I don't know if we'll ever truly know if it was intentional or if it was just the fact that it was us fans making a big deal about how it was considered to be the bogey turkey storyline that made the Duffer Brothers want to find a way to reintroduce her back into the plot. Ultimately, so that they'd have a show conclude without there being that one specific thing that everybody would always talk about, as it did plague the show while Season 3 and Season 4 were running. But personally, I think giving her a large role, such as causing the weakening of Vecna, not the actual killing of him, would be a fitting and rewarding position for the character to be in, and it would almost justify her return more because none of the other characters in the show would be able to cause that to happen. So let's just hope her return does feel like it's got a strong purpose and not just like she's been shoehorned in. So, there you have it, the importance of number 8 in Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2. If you want to see more videos on Stranger Things Season 5, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What do you think number 8's involvement will be? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.